On day 3 of our tour, we traveled south from Pincher Creek, Alberta, crossing the U.S. border into Montana. As we traveled south, Chief Mountain soon came into view. At 9,085 feet, Chief Mountain is one of the most prominent peaks and rock formations along the Rocky Mountain front. A 200-mile-long overthrust fault known as the Lewis Overthrust, which extends from central Montana into southern Alberta, Canada. Chief Mountain is an example of a clip. It consists of a Precambrian block which rests directly above much younger Cretaceous gray shale. The 1,450 to 1,400 million-year-old Precambrian rocks are 1,300 to 1,400 million years older than the Cretaceous rocks at the base of the mountain. Having an older layer of rock atop younger basement rocks is found on occasion in thrust faults and is commonplace along the Lewis Overthrust. The surrounding portion of the thrust sheet has been removed by erosion, leaving behind this and a few other isolated blocks of Proterozoic rock. Soon we arrived at the U.S.-Canadian border. After each passenger's passport was reviewed at the checkpoint, we traveled further south toward Many Glacier, Montana. After turning off Highway 89 and onto Route 3, the road soon became gravel for several miles. We drove along beautiful Lake Sherburne for some distance before arriving at the Many Glacier Hotel. The sky was overcast and the clouds were very low, making viewing a bit difficult. Many Glacier Hotel is a historic hotel located on the east shore of Swift Current Lake in Glacier National Park. The building is designed as a series of chalets up to 4 stories tall and stretches for a substantial distance along the lakeshore. The building has a Swiss Alpine theme, both on the outside and on the inside. The foundation is made of stone with wood superstructure. On the inside, the 4-story lobby is surrounded by balconies whose railings are patterned after Swiss designs. Construction began at Many Glacier Hotel in 1914 and was finished in just 1 year on July 4th of 1915. The Great Northern Railway was establishing a series of hotels and backcountry chalets in the park, and the Many Glacier Hotel was the gem of the West. Today, the hotel still maintains its historic character. Most of the rooms either have views of Swift Current Lake or the surrounding mountain scenery. I thought this double helix staircase was interesting. The hotel includes 2 suites, 7 family rooms, and 205 guest rooms, offering lakeside, deluxe, standard, and value lodging options. Check out the roof on the Two Sisters Cafe. Our tour guide, Brian, said this was a great place to eat. Glacier National Park is located in northwestern Montana on the Canada-United States border. The park encompasses more than 1 million acres and includes parts of 2 mountain ranges, more than 130 named lakes, more than 1,000 different species of plants, and hundreds of species of animals. The vast pristine ecosystem is the centerpiece of what has been referred to as the crown of the continent ecosystem, a region of protected land encompassing 16,000 square miles. The region that became Glacier National Park was first inhabited by Native Americans. Upon the arrival of European explorers, it was dominated by the Blackfeet in the east and the Flathead in the western regions. Under pressure, the Blackfeet ceded the mountainous parts of their treaty lands in 1895 to the federal government. It later became part of the park. Our tour bus driver was a descendant of the First Nation Blackfoot. He sang several songs to us as he told us about the history of the park.
I know, hey, 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 hello, hey, hello, hey.
Glacier National Park's mountains began forming 170 million years ago, when ancient rocks were forced eastward up and over much younger rock strata. Known as the Lewis overthrust, these sedimentary rocks are considered to have some of the finest examples of early life fossils on Earth. The current shapes of the Lewis and Livingston mountain ranges and positioning and size of the lakes show the telltale evidence of massive glacial action. Glaciers carved U-shaped valleys and left behind moraines that impounded water, creating lakes. Of the estimated 150 glaciers over 25 acres in size which existed in the park in the mid-19th century, only 25 active glaciers remained by 2010. Scientists studying the glaciers in the park have estimated that all the active glaciers may disappear by 2030 if current climate patterns persist. There are 6 mountains in the park over 10,000 feet in elevation, with Mount Cleveland at 10,466 feet being the tallest. Triple Divide Peak at 8,025 feet is unusual as it sends waters toward the Pacific Ocean, Hudson Bay, and the Gulf of Mexico watersheds. Glacier National Park has almost all its original native plant and animal species. Large mammals such as grizzly bears, moose, mountain goats, as well as rarer endangered species like wolverines and Canadian lynxes inhabit the park. Hundreds of species of birds, more than a dozen fish species, and a few reptiles and amphibian species have been documented. A fleet of restored 1930s white motor company coaches called Red Jammers offers tours on all the main roads in the park. The drivers of the buses are called jammers due to the gear jamming that formerly occurred during the vehicle operation. The tour buses were rebuilt in 2001 by Ford Motor Company. The bodies were removed from their original chassis and built on modern Ford FE Series van chassis. They were also converted to run on propane to lessen their environmental impact. Later, new hybrid engines were adopted. As of 2017, 33 of the original 35 are still in operation. The park has numerous ecosystems, ranging from prairie to tundra. The easternmost forests of western red cedar and hemlock grow in the southwest portion of the park. Forest fires are common in the park. There has been a fire every year of the park's existence except 1964. 64 fires occurred in 1936, the most on record. In 2003, 6 fires burned approximately 136,000 acres, more than 13% of the park. After the park was well established and visitors began to rely more on automobiles, work was begun on the 53-mile-long Going to the Sun Road, completed in 1932. Also simply known as Sun Road, the road bisects the park and is the only route that ventures deep into the park, going over the Continental Divide at Logan Pass, 6,646 feet at its midway point. Glacier National Park is managed by the National Park Service. Visitation to Glacier National Park was about 3.5 million visitors in 2019. Glacier has had at least 2 million annual visitors consistently since 2012. The park contains over 700 lakes, but only 131 had been named as of 2016. Lake McDonald on the western side of the park is the longest at 10 miles and the deepest at 464 feet. Numerous smaller lakes, known as tarns, are located in cirques formed by glacial erosion. 200 waterfalls are scattered throughout the park. However, during drier times of the year, many of these are reduced to a trickle. The largest falls include those in the Two Medicine region, McDonald Falls in the McDonald Valley, and Swift Current Falls in the Many Glacier area. One of the tallest waterfalls is Birdwoman Falls, which drops 492 feet from a hanging valley beneath the north slope of Mount Oberlin. Our Glacier Park bus ride only took us as far as Logan Pass. I wish we could have traveled the entire 53-mile distance through the park to allow us to see other sights, such as the Triple Arches, the Weeping Wall, and Lake McDonald. It was now time to load the coach and head back to Canada. Though the clouds had made viewing a bit difficult, they had also added a beauty of their own. This photo shows our tour director Brian on the left and our driver David on the right. Chief Mountain has been a sacred mountain to the tribes of Native Americans in the United States and First Nations in Canada for hundreds of years. Natives from all over North America travel to the base of the mountain for sweetgrass ceremonies, placing of prayer flags, and other religious rites. The mountain was seen by white explorers in the late 18th century and was known as King's Peak on maps produced in the United Kingdom in 1795. In the early 1900s, as white settlers came to the area, they observed native burial sites scattered along the base of the mountain. The name was changed in the late 19th century in reflection of Blackfeet naming of the mountain, which was Great Chief. When Glacier National Park was created in 1910, the summit and most prominent eastern slopes of the mountain were located within the park, leaving only the lower slopes within Blackfeet Indian Reservation. The mountain is also a favorite of climbers. The eastern face of the mountain rises over 1,500 feet vertically and is the easiest route to the top, rated Class 4 by mountaineers. The rock is also primarily sedimentary and provides poor anchor points, which in turn is a contributing factor to the difficulty rating. Henry Stimson and two other explorers, including a Blackfeet Indian, climbed the difficult eastern face on September 8, 1892. This is the first known ascent of the peak by white explorers. Upon the summit, Stimson's party observed ceremonial remains including bison skulls that had been left behind by Native Americans. The eastern face of the peak was not successfully climbed again until 1951. Pincher Creek received its name in 1868 when a group of prospectors lost a pincer in the small creek at this location. Pincers were used as a device for trimming the feet of horses and thus had some value to the group. In 1874, the Southeast Mounted Police came to southern Alberta. One of the Mounties discovered the rusting tools in the creek, and they named the area Pincher Creek. In 1876, the Northwest Mounted Patrol established a horse farm in the area. It closed in 1881, but many of the troops stayed to help the town. James Schofield opened Pincher Creek's first store in 1884. In 1898, Pincher Creek was incorporated as a village. In 1906, the community was officially incorporated as a town and named Pincher Creek. Many residents are descendants of the pioneer families who settled there over 100 years ago. In 2021, the town of Pincher Creek had a population of 3,622. We spent the evening at the Heritage Inn and Convention Center in Pincher Creek, Alberta.